All right, here we are. We're back. Hi, everyone. This is, I believe, episode 3. Today, we're going to go on an office tour.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was just showing you my mess, and now we're going to go. Okay. Well, I do want to show you, like, behind my shoulder. This is very important. You see what that is?
At last.
Cubs winning the World Series 2016. Here's Caleb and Chris, and there's the books I read in. Here's my desk. You ever seen that?
Okay, that was supposed to be a joke.
Oh, no. This is serious business. This is the inside of my brain looks worse than this.
Wow.
Anyway.
Explains a lot.
I'm writing a book, and it's all over the place. So.
Well, anyways.
Yes.
Gosh, we're having so much fun doing these, everyone. Really love that you guys are responding and sharing in our comments and via texts and however else you're reaching out to us. It's really guiding our conversations. So please just keep talking to us and engaging with us. Also, a little note, we have created a YouTube channel. I will post the link to that in the comments. So feel free to use that to share videos with people that maybe don't have Facebook, or if you'd prefer to connect with us over there. I know sometimes the algorithms on Facebook make it hard to find things. So if that works better for you, again, the link will be in the comments. So gosh, like I said, it's been really fun to connect with you. As Dave and I have read through the comments, we really just look for themes and noticings on what is stirring in people's hearts and minds. And some of the things that we're noticing as themes are, as we're looking for scaffolding, and we're looking for things that don't move during all this uncertainty.
And that's because we started there actually talking,
right?
Because you were asking me for context, and went back to Julian of Norwich that first time. Then last time we went to John on Patmos, and those became pretty significant. Like Julian of Norwich obviously was able to say all will be well because she saw something that wouldn't move while everything else was moving. And anyway, sorry, keep going.
Exactly. Exactly that. And then kind of where we've decided to land today is teaching that came up again in the comments and interactions that we've had with each of you. And it's Write It on a Rock. In fact, some of you probably remember those original teachings. So we're going to go right back to that spot. And it's where we're going, what we're going to talk about today. So Dave, will you just tell us how that saying came about?
Yeah.
What was happening in your life, and maybe some of the similarities with what we might all be experiencing right now.
Yeah. Well, when you and I talked about this earlier in the day, and you had spotted some of these comments about that Write It on a Rock thing, it resonated with me in that it fits with this theme of looking for things that don't move when everything feels like it's moving, because when that kind of arose for me, it did feel like everything was moving. You talked about the sabbatical from hell, and anybody who was at Open Door at the time, some people still make mention of that time, that I didn't just hit the wall. We felt like our whole church hit the wall. And part of that was every incompetency we thought we could ignore because our church was growing explosively. Every incompetency that we thought we could ignore came and kind of bit us in the butt and said, nah, you can't. And it was really, as a church, but also as a person, time to grow up, and spiritually, organizationally, a lot of different ways. But along with that was this pretty intense kind of burnout on my part. I was given some time off. The elders kind of going, in fact, the analogy we were using, or they used, was, you're not just out of gas, you're out of oil. So turn off the engine and chill. So I took this, what we called a sabbatical at the time. And it was, it sounded better than you're a jerk and take a vacation. Sabbatical sounded better. So I went on it, and the sabbatical from hell part was that most people's impressions, at least mine, of a sabbatical was that you sit by a stream, chew on a blade of grass, think deep thoughts, and everything comes into line for you. And everything just went to a bad place for us. Honestly, one of the first things Bonnie and I did, trying to kind of, and when we went on a sabbatical, we were so lost. I had no idea how to rest. I had no idea what I was supposed to do. But we did this, we decided to join the co-ed softball team because we would never do that. But, Bonnie's a good athlete and I love that kind of stuff. So we did. And Bonnie's very first time at bat, she, whenever I tell a story, she needs it to be known that she hit a line drive over the shortstop's head, 2-run. No, she didn't leave the batter's box. It did score a run, but in the swinging of the bat, she blew out her knee. It torqued it down, broke her ankle, same swing. We're at the hospital. Like a week into this sabbatical from hell, it started out this way. And in her pre-op examination for the knee surgery, they found a lump on her throat. And so all of a sudden they're talking cancer, and she went into surgery for the knee surgery. And then our house got hit by lightning in some summer storm, June or something like that, came roaring through town. One of those storms that comes into town, blows everything up, and then it's all sunny and bright again. And our house got hit by lightning. Everybody was in it. We never went back into that house again. And so Bonnie's recovering from surgery. We're kind of shuttling from place to place in a motel room. I remember Bonnie going, anyway, in a motel room. It wasn't good. The kids weren't there. And then staying in different people's houses. Every house we stayed in while we were waiting for this house to get repaired, a whole nother story because we never went back to that house. Every place we went, we broke something significant. And it's just like, I didn't know that fishing rods could cost $300. I didn't know those. But Caleb, I remember, we were in a boat and he fell, wasn't being goofy, just fell on the thing and it broke. And that's as short as I can make that story. So anyway, that's the context.
I would be in trouble if I didn't say one good thing did happen that summer.
What? Oh,
Chris and Caleb's weren't Chris and Caleb on the same baseball team?
Yeah, with Kyle Meyer.
And what happened?
They were undefeated. Yeah,
right?
They won the World Series. It was a very small world, but they won that one.
Yeah. Some people probably don't know that I'm married to your youngest son, right?
If they don't, they're idiots. How would they know?
I don't know. That's the only reason I know that story, and Chris would kill me if we didn't talk about that.
I'm glad you told that story. Okay.
So tell us, you were on the sabbatical from terrible places. You come back very refreshed, right?
No, that's where that story, I guess it's important to tell a story just so it confirms that it was a season in life that was very disorienting. Part of my work when I was on this time off it wasn't about going back to Open Door. I've never had illusions that the grass is greener anywhere else. It was really more, am I going to stay in the ministry or leave the ministry? If I was going to stay in the ministry, I was staying at Open Door. So I was really wrestling through some pretty significant things. And near the time when I was needing to return, I mean, the time was just up. I wasn't refreshed. I didn't feel like I was in a much better place than when I had left. I felt like God gave me a word at the time that I will give you what you need when you need it. Just get back and trust me to, walk this thing out. But my very first talk that I gave when I came back was something that had some history and was biblically rooted. And it did have to do with some wrestlings I had with God. And I feel like some words that he gave to me around things that don't move. And it's all rooted in this thing in Job 19. Job 19, Job is, I'm going to assume that you generally know the story. Job had lost everything. His family had been wiped out. He has 3 friends who, for a while, come and do a really good thing with him. They sit Shiva, with him, which meant they just sat with him, I think it was for a week in the text, and didn't say a word. They just were feeling his pain and holding him as a friend. And then they got antsy, like people do, and they started trying to fix him and correct him. And they started acting like they knew why Job was having trouble. And one guy, if you prayed the wrong prayer, you must really have sin in your life. These are kind of dumb things that they said, and we say too. Anyway, in Job 19, Job has been taking it from these three guys who think they know why Job's in trouble. And in Job 19, he finally says, pity me, oh, you, my friends. That's pretty pitiful. I mean, he's going to pity me, give me a break. And he literally falls into what I think is a pit. And at the bottom of the pit, it's like a light comes on for him. He's like at his lowest place, and this light comes on for him. And he comes up in Job 19, and he says this, oh, that my words were written. And what does he mean by that? Well, something just dawned on him, and he wants to write it down. Why would he want to write it down? Because if I don't write it down, I'll forget it. So he says, oh, that my words were written, inscribed in a book. But then he ups the ante beyond a book with an iron stylus and lead engraved on a rock. I want this written down. And the whole metaphor, the imagery of the rock is that the reason I want it written on a rock is because my feelings in 5 minutes are going to change, but what I know right now is true. Right on a rock. And what he said was, I know that my Redeemer lives, and he will stand, and so will I, and I will see him face to face. Write that on a rock. And it did go away. I mean, the feeling of that was true. It held him, gave him the strength to move on, and then it kind of disappears like those things do. When I was coming back, I kind of was hanging on to that. Are there any things that God said to me to write on a rock? And I did have some people at Open Door, maybe you remember this phrase, but it came out of this talk. The first thing that I wrote on a rock was coming back was the only way out is through. There's no way around stuff like this. The only way out is through things like this. There is no magic pill, unless it's Adderall. That was.
You didn't have that then.
Oh, yeah. But that was, and I mean, part of why that's such a powerful thing to say is that I know people at Open Door still talk about the only way out is through, and that's something that's just the way life works. So that was one thing about even how did I survive? How did Bonnie and I walk through that season of life? Was nothing fancy. You just go through it together. The only way out is through. The second thing was something that my dad gave me. It was Bonnie was in surgery for the throat. We didn't know if it was cancer or not. And I remember we were in this diner having breakfast after she had gone into surgery. It was going to be for a while. So we went to get breakfast. And I was saying all this happy talk to my dad. I go, oh, I know, she's going to be fine. And she's just going to be, it's not probably going to be cancer. Well, it wasn't cancer. But my dad said some stuff, again, like he's done before. And he said, you don't know any of that. You don't know if she's going to be fine. You don't know if she's going to live. You don't know if it's not cancer. Here's what you know. Sheesh. And it was Philippians 1:6. My dad said, I am confident of this. I am not confident of the doctors. Maybe they'll be great. I am confident of this, that God who began a work in you will complete it. God will complete and bring to fruition the things that he's doing in you and in Bonnie and in us, right on a rock, right there on a rock. That was the second thing. The third thing was, this is weird because I just looked at this, but that we have a high priest who has been tempted, and not necessarily with sin, but he has gone through the same kind of trials as we have. And because that's the kind of high priest we have, we can approach him boldly. So right on a rock that you can come to your high priest, Jesus, with all your stuff. Bring it. He sympathizes, he understands. There isn't anything you feel or fear that he hasn't, that he doesn't. Bring it to the throne of grace. right on a rock. The fourth thing was, and this is, this was, I need to set this up. We were staying at the house of Steve and Diane Benson, and Steve's a doctor, and they graciously let us borrow their house. I think they were on vacation. They lived on the Mississippi River, and beautiful place. And I was, Erica, who I can't remember how old she was at the time, little kid, 13 maybe, asked if she could ride the riding lawnmower. And I thought, okay, fine, that's fine. What can she do? And big yard. And I was up in the house looking down on this yard that was kind of going down toward the river. And I watched Erica drive the lawnmower into a tree. So I'm watching her do it. I can't get her. I can't fix it. She breaks it. Can't afford to fix it. It was just like another, she's fine. And they didn't care. They were so wonderful. But I'm just kind of unraveling at this point. And so we found out she was okay. It's okay. And so I told Bonnie, I says, I just need to get some alone time. So I went outside and sat in a chair with my Walkman. Remember those? Remember what a Walkman, and it wasn't a tape. It was a Walkman. You can kind of dial change the radio with a little thing you push with your thumb. And I was looking on this Walkman for the angriest rock and roll that I could play. I had my earphones in. I just wanted to blast because I felt like this angry rock and roll would match how peaceful I felt. So that was a joke. Thank you for laughing. And so as I'm pushing the dial, my thumb kind of accidentally pushes the dial to this station where it's playing this music, this worship song. And I ended up in a puddle. I'm just undone weeping. And that's when it dawned on me. I said, I can't get away from this. I can get angry. I can feel, like this isn't fair. But Jesus is the sweetest name I know. So I'm stuck right on a rock. Because tomorrow that might not feel true, but it will be true. So right on a rock. And that's what that was.
I mean, what do you even say after that?
It's just take an offering.
Those are the things that don't move.
Right.
Again, like the whole rock metaphor, they're virtually indestructible.
Yeah. And maybe it's just dawning on me as we say this, as this stuff is kind of coming back to me. I think these things become true when you have to live them. Like that's better. But we're in something right now like that, where we have to live this. Annika, you said to me earlier, maybe someday we'll look back on this coronavirus thing the way we look back on a sabbatical from hell. And there's nothing about it you like. There's nothing about this I liked, but it changed us in really good ways. Man, you can write that on a rock too. This God's up to stuff in the middle of this. I don't know what it is, and I don't mean that like happy talk, but this won't be wasted. This will not be wasted. This whole thing for any of us.
I'd love to end with something that you said, and it kind of flew right by us, but one of the remarkable things that you heard during this time, you came back from this sabbatical, not refreshed, mm-hmm. not necessarily renewed. In fact, even maybe more so exhausted, strung out. I don't know what other words you'd love to use there, but what God did tell you is He will give you what you need when you need it.
Yep.
And that's also something you can write on a rock. So I think
Yeah, you can.
That's a perfect place to end, isn't it? That what are the places that you need to say that out loud? What are the places that the people that are listening, I think that's my challenge to my own self. What are the places that I need to say that to myself right now? Because, some days it feels great that we're kind of in this giant pause. There are times when I'm watching my kids play in the yard and it feels great. And then if you were to take a snapshot of my living room right now, it looks real different than that. Looks like a war zone.
Can I see it?
No. Sure, fine. I'll text you a picture later.
Okay. No.
It looks like a war zone. And sometimes it feels like a war zone right now in my own soul, in my own family relationships, because we're trapped here. But if I could surrender and believe that truth, that God will give me what I need when I need it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, not a moment sooner.
Yeah. And the feeling thing will come and go. Feeling. That's why the writing on a rock metaphor is so good. The whole point of writing it on a rock is I want it on a rock because it's permanent, and my feelings will change. This will not feel believable to me in 10 minutes. It's still true. And
right.
So that's the value of it. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Well, thank you for reminding us of that passage in Job. Thank you for telling us about your sabbatical from hell. I mean, it's even iconic to me, and I didn't live it.
That's funny. Thank you for doing this too, Annika. This is your idea, and if you weren't pushing me here, I wouldn't be doing this at all. So thanks.
Wait, you wouldn't be going live and recording stuff on Facebook?
No. Thank you.
You are welcome. I mean, I wrote something down and now I can't find it, but I think the whole reason you and I are doing this is, well, partly we have these conversations anyways, so it's for our own sake. And now we get to share it with other people, but even more so, it's stuff that we get to pass on to our kids, your grandkids, my kids, and the generations that come behind us, these grounds that we get to plow for them.
Yep.
So, great. All right, everyone. Again, interact with us in the comments. We can't wait to see what we're going to talk about later this week. Looks like we're going to likely be posting on Wednesdays and Sundays, so you can kind of start to count on that. If something changes, we'll let you know. But
if the Lord tarries.
What?
What?
If the Lord tarries, what?
Then we'll be on Wednesday.
Okay.
That's a dumb thing we used to say to each other. I'm going to eat you for a shake later on the hamburger, if the Lord tarries. Anyway, try to figure that out. Google it. It means some dumb thing. Go ahead. Go ahead and close. Sorry.
That's our closing.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.